Morning. My name's Matt. I'm from the Baptist Church. It's reflecting this morning on who God the Father chose for his Son to turn up first to. The Old Testament is full of the story of Israel and these great themes of God the Father intervening in history. And there'd been 300 years of silence, and then Jesus turns up. And for one single woman, his voice had cut through a horrific life. Luke tells us she'd been tormented by 7 demons, and Jesus somehow cuts through that. I don't know if you've ever felt terrified, but all of a sudden she experiences peace and she finds hope in this one man, and she begins to follow him and starts to understand, and then he's taken away from her and her grief is overwhelming. She goes Sunday morning to the tomb and finds it empty and goes back and tells the boys, and they race over, and it says they believed, although it's not quite clear what they believed had happened, because a few hours later they're locked up, terrified. Mary comes back to the tomb and she's just distraught. She's weeping. And she sees a couple of angels, and that's not enough to break her out of her grief. She just says, "Where is he?" And then the object of her grief himself turns up, and she can't see through the pain. She can't see that it's actually him. And she says, "Where have they put him? Where is he?" And then he looks her in the eyes and says, "Ah, Mary." In the tone of voice she's heard over and over and over again over the last 3 years. And it's almost like her eyes are opened and the weight goes off her shoulders, the grief is lifted, and she throws herself at Jesus. And Jesus says to her, "Look, Mary, you need to put me down for a moment. I've got something to tell you." And there's this moment where one of the things to understand about the Gospel of John is it's written last, and it's like John has carefully crafted every word. And one of the major themes he's been building towards is the theme of the fatherhood of God. You see, he doesn't actually record the Lord's Prayer, or the Catholics it's called the Our Father. The personal fatherhood of God really isn't focused, despite the fact that he mentions the fatherhood of God 108 times in the Gospel. This now is the 107th. And for this lonely, single woman, he tells her something, and she's the first to know something that changes everything. Jesus says to her, "Go find my brothers and tell them, I'm ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." He's saying, "Mary, you don't have to be alone anymore." In the Old Testament, the Holy Spirit turned up and worked through prophets, priests, and kings. In the New Testament, the Son of God turns up to a single woman and says, "You've got a dad. who from this point on is with you. You don't have to do life on your own anymore. Now Mary is given the task of going and telling the disciples what she's learnt. And it's not clear that the disciples were ready to hear yet. And it'll take Jesus turning up in an upper room. But for each one of us, what the good news of Easter Day means is, like Mary, we don't have to do life on our own. There is a good Father who knows you profoundly, who's been through all the ups and downs with you, and now invites you to do life with him because of what Jesus did on the cross. Easter Day means we're not alone anymore.